This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
(8:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dhanushka Madavala and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we look at the headlines. A special gazette notification issued restricting foreign currency outflows from the country. The President instructs to vaccinate all aged over 30 in the Western Province before the 31st of July. An organic fertilizer centre will be established in Sri Lanka with the support of India. A new committee has been appointed to restructure the United National Party. Another 1,102 COVID-19 cases have been detected in Sri Lanka today. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has suspended the party membership of the Vice Chairman of the Mihintale Pradesh Sabha. And in news overseas, India logs 400,000 COVID deaths amid vaccine ramp-up. Those were the headlines, and now more to the details of the local news. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, has issued an extraordinary gazette notification with several amendments to the Foreign Exchange Act, limiting the repatriation of funds under the migration allowance through capital transaction rupee accounts by emigrants. This act will be in effect for 6 months. An organic fertilizer centre will be established in Sri Lanka with the support of India. Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle has presented a proposal in this regard. The High Commissioner made these remarks at an online meeting held between two parties to share experiences. The High Commissioner expressed his support to provide the technical know-how and training facilities to Sri Lanka. He also said that Sri Lanka extends its support to Sri Lanka's drive towards transforming into organic farming. A new committee has been appointed to restructure the United National Party. This 5-member committee was appointed by UMP party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe. Deputy Leader Ruwan Wijewardena, Chairman Vajira Abeyewardena, General Secretary Palitharange Bandara, Assistant Party Leader Akila Viraj Karyavasam and Vice Chairman Sagala Ratnayaka are the members of this committee. They are expected to submit a proposal for the betterment of the party within the next 2 weeks. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Sri Lanka Insurance. Like a father, like a mother.
And we continue with more local news. Another 1,102 COVID-19 cases have been detected in Sri Lanka today, raising the number of confirmed cases to 262,074. All new cases have been linked to the New Year COVID-19 cluster. Accordingly, the Epidemiology Unit of the Ministry of Health said 29,376 persons are currently receiving treatment for coronavirus at several facilities across the country. 37 persons have been succumbed to the novel coronavirus during the past 24 hours. The Department of Government Information said Sri Lanka's COVID-19 related death toll has increased to 3,157. 25 males and 12 females were among the group that succumbed to the virus yesterday. 28 individuals among those who succumbed were identified as 60 years or above. 8 victims were between the age of 30 to 59 and 1 person was below the age of 30 years. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has suspended the party membership of the Vice Chairman of the Mihintale Pradesh Sabha. He was arrested recently for allegedly using a 15-year-old girl as a sex worker. Issuing a statement, General Secretary of the SLBC, Parliamentarian Sagara Karyavasam said that the decision was taken after the Mihintale Vice Chairman was taken into police custody for being involved in the incident. MP Karyavasam reiterated that any party member of local government body found to be involved in such incidents will be revoked of his or her membership and be dealt with by the law. Secretary to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Sirinimal Pereira, says that the government was able to increase the investments in the construction sector. The investments have risen from $3 billion to $5 billion. It is expected to recover those funds through 42 development projects. The project plan has already been made and the final assessment will be handed over to the investment committee within the next 2 months. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. A special gazette notification issued restricting the foreign currency outflow from the country. The president instructs to vaccinate all over the age of 30 in the Western Province before the 31st of July. An organic fertilizer centre will be established in Sri Lanka with the support of India. A new committee has been appointed to restructure the United National Party. Another 1,102 COVID-19 cases have been detected in Sri Lanka today. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has suspended the party membership of the vice chairman of the Mihitale Pradesh Sabha. And that was the local news.
The largest bonus declared in the history of the Sri Lankan insurance industry. Sri Lanka Insurance Grand Bonus. An unmatchable bonus of 8.6 billion rupees only for Sri Lanka Insurance life policy holders from the nation's largest insurer. Call 0112 357 357 for more details. Sri Lanka Insurance. Like a father, like a mother.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story for tonight, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the health officials to vaccinate all those over the age of 30 years in the Western Province against COVID-19 before the 31st of July. So far, 60% of the people of this age group in the Colombo district, 47% of the Kampala district and 34% in the Kalathara district have been given the first dose of the vaccine against COVID-19. The president has also emphasized the need to inoculate a higher percentage of people in all parts of the country before September in a systematic manner following the receipt of the vaccines that have been already ordered. The president gave these instructions at a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat this morning with a special committee on COVID-19 control on vaccination and future operations. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya. And in Watchlight tonight, nearly 250 families are facing many difficulties due to the stopping of the SLTB bus that operated from Dulasbage to Dodolugama. They request the relevant authorities to take measures to reoperate these bus services for the convenience of the public. This is for the attention of the Nawalapitiya Depot Superintendent. And from that we move on to the headlines of the world news. India logs 400,000 COVID deaths amid vaccine ramp up. Iraq power cut stirs protests as summer temperatures scorch the country. Statues of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II torn down in Canada. Those are the headlines, and now we move on to the details of the world news. The number of deaths linked to coronavirus in India have moved past the 400,000 mark as the country tries to speed up its vaccination drive. Experts warn that the real number of fatalities might be much higher as many deaths are not officially recorded. India is the only third in the world behind the US and Brazil to record more than 400,000 deaths. The country has recorded 30 million cases, second only to the US. The number of average daily cases in India has fallen to just over 40,000 in recent days, down from the peaks of 400,000 in May. The drop in numbers has largely been attributed to strict lockdown by states, but experts warn of an impending third wave. Widespread power cuts have hit Iraq at a time when the country is suffering from scorching summer temperatures. The electricity cut on today was caused by a failure of the major power line, the local media reported. The capital Baghdad and southern provinces have been particularly badly affected. Protesters have taken to the streets against the outages. Anger over power cuts has previously fueled mass street demonstrations. A prominent statue of Queen Victoria has been torn down by protesters in Canada as anger grows over the deaths of Indigenous children at residential schools. The protesters cheered as the statue of the legislature in Manitoba in the capital, Winnipeg, was toppled on Thursday. A smaller statue of UK monarch Queen Elizabeth II was appended nearby. Local media say police used a stun gun to arrest a man at the scene, but the protest was largely peaceful. The toppling of the statues came on Canada Day, an annual celebration on 1st of July to mark the country's founding by British colonies in 1867. The recent discoveries of unmarked Indigenous Canadian graves at residential schools has prompted calls for national celebrations to be called off. And to conclude the world news, the headlines once again. India logs 400,000 COVID deaths amid vaccination ramp up. Iraq power cut stirs protests as summer temperatures scorch the country. Statues of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth II torn down in Canada. That was the world news, and now we move on to development news. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said today at Temple Trees that if everything has been stopped because of COVID, the people would have faced more difficulties today. He was speaking at the commencement of the work on the 17th-story Maritime Facilitation Centre in Lotus Road in Colombo Fort and the opening of the Kapaduwa interchange on the Southern Expressway and Gatame underpass in Peradeniya. The Prime Minister virtually declared open the Kapaduwa interchange on the Southern Expressway and the Gatame underpass in Peradeniya and laid the foundation to construct the Maritime Facilitation Centre in Colombo Fort today. That was the development news, and now we move on to sports news. US sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson has received a 1-month ban after testing positive for marijuana and is set to miss the Tokyo Olympics. The 21-year-old won the 100 meters at the Olympics trials in Oregon in June and earlier this year ran 6th fastest time in history. But the Texan's positive means her qualification result has been umpudged. The athlete's positive test came at the Olympics trials event where she finished well clear in the field of 10.86 seconds. The trials come just a week after the death of her biological mother, and Richardson explained that she has used cannabis as a way of coping. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
And in business news, Microsoft's so-called blue screen of death will turn black in the new Windows 11 operating system, according to those with access to a preview of the software. The screen appears when users have a problem on their computer, often prompting a restart. A black background will replace the blue, matching the logo and the shutdown screen on the new system. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
And in economic news, officials from 130 countries have agreed to overhaul the global tax system to ensure big companies pay a fair share wherever they operate. The OECD said on Thursday that negotiators had backed a proposed minimum corporate tax rate of at least 15%. The US Secretary of Treasury said, "Today is a historic day for economic diplomacy. Tax on big tech firms has been a source of friction between the US and others." That was economic news, and the weather report to conclude.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue in partnership with the Ministry of Education introduces Nanasir, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, on to the weather report. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabrakamua, northwestern and southern provinces and in the Kandy and Noora area districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the western and Sabrakamua provinces and the Gaul and Mathara districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva and eastern provinces and in the Mullaitivu and Vauria districts in the evening or night. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And before we conclude this bulletin of news, let's get back to the headlines once again. A special Gazette notification issued restricting foreign currency outflows from the country. The President instructs to vaccinate all aged over the years of 30 in the Western Province before the 31st of July. An organic fertilizer centre will be established in Sri Lanka with the support of India. A new committee has been appointed to restructure the United National Party. Another 1,102 COVID-19 cases have been detected in Sri Lanka today. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has suspended the party membership of the Vice Chairman of the Mihitale Pradesh Sabha. And in news overseas, India logs 400,000 COVID deaths amid vaccination ramp up. And with that, we conclude this bulletin of news.